So I just want to catch up with you. I think I haven't done a video in a week. I usually do YouTube live stream once a week. So hey there. Um, Now, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Ifeoma. I'm a registered nurse in California, and I'm a nurse entrepreneur. Now, my channel is really for you if you are a nurse who is trying to manage your nurse burnout, you want to recover from nurse burnout, you're holistic minded, you're spiritual, and you also like to start a side business, become a nurse entrepreneur, because we understand the constraints of working in the hospital setting is very stressful, and sometimes you just want more of a quality of life. So that's what my channel is all about. I talk about various topics, but today I want to share something that I'm personally going through. Even though I own my own business, my business is I have a holistic counseling practice where I support nurses who are managing anxiety or depression, or they're experiencing nurse burnout, and they don't really have a good person to speak to, because it takes a certain type of person to understand what a nurse goes through. And traditional therapy really doesn't work for them. And then I also help nurses who 100% know that they're ready to start some form of business, something small, doesn't have to be elaborate, but something that they can bring additional income where they're not relying on a paycheck every 2 weeks. Now, for me, I've been a case manager, registered nurse case manager, for the past 4 years, and recently I've been getting these hints, like this inner calling to go back to bedside. I originally started as a med-surg telemetry nurse, and I hated that specialty, and I went into case management as a way to still stay in nursing but not be so direct care. And now that it's been so long, I feel that I'm not really providing the type of difference that I want in my patient's care, and I would like to go to the direct care where there's many reasons why I want to go back to bedside. One of the main reasons I want to go back to bedside, I'm very fortunate that I have 12-hour shifts in my where I work as a care manager, case manager, and I'm in the ED, in the emergency room. But what I find that's unique about my specialist case management, people don't really understand the demands of case management. Now, when you are an ED nurse, usually I think you have 4 to 5 patients in California at least at a time. If you're a tele, you have 4. If you're med-surg, you have 5. When you're in care management ED, we don't have a patient ratio. So sometimes I'm responsible for all the patients in the emergency room and all the patients inpatient when it's after 4:30, the day, the inpatient case managers are gone. And since I'm 12 hours, it's like I'm, responsible for so much. And not only that, you're arguing with insurance plans who don't want to take their own patients because it's hard for them to leave the hospital once they're admitted into a hospital. And you're also dealing with physicians who have their own time frame, and they don't understand that you're just one person. You have to clear these patients, you have to identify their IPA group. There's all these things, and you also have to explain the diagnosis to the patient, why they're being transferred, why they're being admitted, because most likely the doctor didn't disclose that to them because they don't want to spend more time educating them on why they're being treated for certain things. It's just a lot. And what I notice is the physicians respect the emergency room nurses more than they do case management, even though I feel our job is very demanding. So I would like to go back to just being responsible for 4 or 5 patients. But since I have not been at bedside for some years, I'm also changing to 2 specialties. I'm transitioning to emergency room nursing and psychiatric nursing. Aspirations on obtaining my my nurse practitioner in mental health nurse practitioner. I just feel like my calling is counseling. That's why I have my own counseling practice as an RN nurse for nurses who are dealing with work stress, right? And I feel that's like my calling. So I'm very blessed that I'll be soon transition into Psychiatric nursing, that's part-time, 12-hour shifts, awesome, because a lot of psych jobs are 8 hours. And then I just disclosed to my employer that, the conditions in the care management department, case management department, is like, they're, people are always calling sick, and you're always going to work, and finding out the last minute you're the only one doing like three people's jobs. And you're supporting five doctors who don't get that you're just one person. So I'm transitioning to becoming an ED nurse. I'm really excited about that. I'm working, my HR recruiter at my current hospital is really working on that. She just disclosed to me that, that they usually only have like 6 shifts that they can train you to be an ED care manager. I mean, ED registered nurse. So I need more than 6 shifts, since I have been at bedside in like a year or so. This person keeps sending me messages. So I need to like a refresh on starting IVs, starting, and ED is different. You have to know how to do drips. I don't work at a trauma hospital at this point, even though they're applying to be a trauma hospital. But I need to know how to do drips. I need to know how to, draw blood and all those things. I wouldn't need more than 6 shifts to know that. Learn, read, EKG strips, all those things, pharmacology, all those things. So I'm excited about that because, I work in a hospital where the community is very, low income. They're disabled, their income is small, and majority of them are Black or Latino, and it's just really nice being a registered nurse and helping people that are from your community. And I really see a lot of things that the nurses don't do in the ED. Like, there's times when I come into the ED and I see a patient whose breast is exposed, like she's topless. Like, the paramedics are not providing any type of dignity for the patient, and the nurses are not taking any accountability. They're just so like hardened by, I don't know, whatever. And I feel like my disposition, even though I've been an ED care case manager for some time, I feel like I'll have enough empathy and time. I think they need a person like me, my personality type, to be in the ED. And I'm really excited about that. So we'll see. Either way, like, I'm most likely going to stay transition from being a full-time case manager to per diem, and if they are unable to train me as a regular staff. And I might have to do a Versant program, which is for people who are new grads or people who are seasoned nurses and they're transitioning to a new specialty. I'll prefer to just transition now so I can just get out of there, like right now. But worst case scenario, I'll do a Versant program, do per diem. But I'm working with my recruiter so I can do part-time ED and then part-time psych at my other job. So, I'll still have 3 days to work on my business, which allows me to explain why you haven't seen a video from me from last week, is because, you know, my job, I don't know about you, but I really take my job seriously. When I work, I help. I'm a great team player. I explain. I feel like I go above and beyond because I understand how it feels to not have financial means, and you're overwhelmed with a diagnosis that you don't understand, or you're worried about how much it's going to cost, but you don't feel well. So I understand how that feels, being in that very vulnerable place as a patient. And the reason why I titled this video is "It's time to change your specialty" is, if you have a desire to change nurse specialties because you have a calling or you're not happy in your job, it's always best to see if you can change positions in that organization versus leaving that organization and starting from scratch. Because one, the hospital loses money, you have to start all over, you got to do all this onboarding, interviews, orientation, competency crap. It's just better to stay at one organization and see if there's another opening in our organization for you, so they retain staff, because it's very expensive when you have to hire new people and you lose people. And luckily my place of work, they get that, and I'm like a great employee, not to toot my own horn, but when I come to work and you see me on the schedule, I can't say that for a lot of my colleagues. And I want you to understand that if you're at a place where you do not like your job, you really need to identify why you do not like your job. The reason why I currently would like to change my current role, my position, is because my personality type, I'm very autonomous. I'm very autonomous. I'm highly sensitive, and I like to work with people on a one-on-one basis. Now, as an ED care manager, I do not have that opportunity. The way they have the roles, like the boundaries aren't really strong in our department because it's a new hospital. So the boundaries aren't really strong, and I do not get to work with people one-on-one. Like, I'm doing like 5 things at the same time, and I would like to just be responsible for 4 patients or whatever it is, and really provide them care and education, and make sure that they understand what they need to do so they don't return back to the hospital. Now, another thing too is, if you're a personality type that does not like to deal with people, you have to keep that in mind in your next job. Like, I really had to like do soul searching and say to myself, what is it about case management that I don't like? I feel like it's a little bit too far removed from patient care. I feel it's more business, and even though you're using your clinical nursing skills theoretically, you don't really have a lot of time with the patient, and you're dealing with a lot of nonsense. You're dealing with all the departments who don't know the answer to something, and because they don't know the answer to something and they're too lazy to figure it out, they're just going to call case management. Oh, I don't know where this patient lives. Case management. Oh, this patient doesn't have clothes. Case management. Oh, this patient signed out AMA and they have no way to get home. Case management. This patient lost her keys. Case management. Oh, we don't know how to put the patient on the bed board. We accidentally discharged this patient and we need to get them back on the bed board. We don't know how to do that. Call case management, even though they can call IT themselves. So these are all the things. I didn't go to nursing school to be the dumping ground for people, especially when I own my own profitable business. Like, my threshold to deal with nonsense is very low. Very, very low. Okay, so the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to learn from my past experience. When I was a telemetry med surg nurse like 5 years ago, instead of like changing like roles, which I did try to change roles, but my current hospital, they weren't smart enough to transition me to a different department, so I left. And I was so burnt out from clinical nursing that I went into case management, and I stayed in case management ever since. But going back, now looking back, what I would recommend you going forward is, if you ever get tired of direct care or bedside care, instead of like walking away from it for more than a year, what I would recommend is to do whatever you do, home health, do occupational non-clinical for like 6 months or so, and then do always have like a per diem job that's clinical, because the main thing that you and I got into nursing is to have fluidity, for us to have options. I have multiple job opportunities. I have multiple job interviews in the future, like scheduled. I'm very blessed that I can do psych, I can do care management. Very soon I can do emergency care and critical care very soon. But if I can go back, I would have never been so removed from bedside. What happened was, I was so burnt out that I thought bedside was the devil, and before you know it, you forget all your skills. Okay, and even if you decide to become an FMP, it's really important that you have your skills, because I just got a call from a recruiter who wants to do like strike nursing up north, because I'm in Southern California. They're going to do some strike in Northern California very soon. And because I'm a psych nurse, I can do that. But if I was an emergency nurse, there's just so many opportunities. So what I want you to understand is, there's so many hospitals in the universe, in the world, and just because it sucks at your current place doesn't mean it sucks everywhere. And no one told me that, because I was so burnt out and frustrated with my job that I didn't have anyone to talk to. Anyone I spoke to about my frustration in working in med-surg telemetry, they kind of were very nonchalant and dismissive about it. So I thought I was like crazy and it was only me. And luckily I had case management. But what I do is never be so far removed from bedside that you are only limited to case management, because that's what happened to me, because I was so far removed from bedside, I only felt comfortable doing case management. I could work in direct care, but starting IVs and all those things, they expect you to know all those things unless you're a new grad. So that's what I would recommend, is that before you leave your hospital, speak with your HR department, see if they can help you find another position. And they're more likely to do that if you're like a valuable employee and you're like really talented. And most likely, if you're watching this, you're a very talented nurse and a caring person. And then also another thing too is, what I love is that I have my own business. My practice is supporting nurses like yourself who are dealing with burnout, stress from the job and other stuff going on. Because I have another opportunity that brings me income, I go to work knowing that I'm there because I want to make the world a better place, provide service to the world, and I do that in the form of nursing. But not only is one thing is the pay that I get as a case manager am is not what I feel matches my skills and expertise. Even though I negotiated like more than what they originally offered, I still feel like I'm underpaid, which is not news to a lot of nurses. That I feel is underpaid. And with that, because I have my own business, I'm able to bring other sources of income to myself, and not only rely every 2 weeks for a check. You know what I'm saying? Because when I look at my checks just from this job and the amount of work I do, it's just like crazy. And I talked to the HR and I said, the amount of work you guys expect for this position, for amount you pay, it's not competitive. And their words were, my position is not a hard to fill position. Emergency room, they have a shift differential and a night differential, so you get paid more just to be in that specialty, and you get a night shift differential if you chose to do nights. But case management supposedly is easy to fill, but they're not doing a great job at retaining people, and that's just BS. But that's usually universal. Anytime you get into case management, you don't do direct care anymore, but you will take a pay cut, and it's a different type of stress. So I really want to hear what your experiences are when it comes to working in the hospital setting. What specialty are you in? If you can comment below what specialty you are, how long you've been a nurse, what's your satisfaction at your job, what are some alternatives and techniques that you do to manage stress. I'm really into Bikram yoga. That's really good for me, because I'll be damned if I let this job like ruin my body. Seeing so many patients, these illnesses and stuff like that, I do need some form of self-care. And I love how when I finish Bikram yoga, I see the sweat on the floor, I see it on the mat, and I feel like I did something for myself. And I feel better. And I'm excited about that. So I apologize for missing my video last week. I'm really good. I usually do like at least one video a week. So I do it on streams. And if you like to learn about my freebie, I do have a freebie about how to help you learn about the various ways to start a nurse-owned business that doesn't cost a lot of money. It's a free resource. All you would need, Dominican case management pay is much less than direct care. Yes, Dominican, I understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Any sense, because to be a case manager, you have to have a years of acute care experience, right? So if you're a physician, they pay you more for having a specialty. They don't tell you, oh, because you have a specialty, we're going to pay you less. But nursing is just backwards. I don't know what's going on. It's like case management is one of the most important specialties, because without it, the hospital is losing revenue. You know what I'm saying? It's really ridiculous. And in my hospital, because it's a new hospital, it was closed down, and then they reopened it, and it's not union. That's one of the problems. It's not, and that's another thing. If you're going to change jobs, make sure your hospital is unionized, because unions really make a difference when it comes to supporting the nurses. Not union. The doctors don't know what the heck is going on, and it's just craziness. And in the ED, you have no patient ratio compared to the ED nurses. The doctors treat you like you're the evil stepchild, even though they rely on us more than the ER nurses. Like, I literally have to sit next to 3 or sometimes 5 doctors who are telling me how many patients that they need to see if they can admit or transfer. While the ED nurses, they're having a little small talk, key and keying. But me, it's like, oh, I need room 5, need to admit for chest pain. Just like, that's it. No, how are you? Do you have kids? Where do you live? None of that crap. It's really ridiculous. And I was about to leave my job, my current job, because I don't need, I am a highly sought after nurse, okay? I have skills, and very soon I'm going to obtain my certification case management and my certification as a psychiatric nurse. So I'm very seasoned. I do not need any nonsense, and I'm at this point where I'm reaching February will be 6 years as a nurse. I don't need this nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And you most likely have the same ethic, you know. And but here's the thing with me, I'm not one of those people who I'll come to work and because I hate my job I call in sick. And that's what I find with nurses, like they're so burnt out they call in sick. Me, I rather just leave and find another hospital or another position, because there's a position out there for you that's going to be the best fit for you. You just have to have enough courage to really try it out. And another advice, I'm going to do another training video on this, but I really think it's good to have like 2 jobs at one time. So because what happens is when you interview for a job, they seduce you and they say all this and stuff, but then it's a totally different story when you're at the job. So what I recommend is that you have 2 jobs, so one job doesn't pan out like they said it was going to, cancel it and not feel like you're starting from scratch. I'm saying, so that's just my, and again, if you're most likely going to watch the replay. Tell me what type of nurse you are, what's your specialties you've been in it, are you happy, what things you do to keep yourself going. Do you have a side business? Do you have something that brings you additional income so you're not always waiting every 2 weeks for your check? Because what they pay us in the hospital is chicken change, and it's really hard to live a sustainable lifestyle where you have for savings to pay off debt and to travel the world. And that is why I'm very passionate about my nurse counseling practice, where I'm a therapist for nurses who desire to recover from nurse burnout, understand like what's next for them for nursing, and also realize what business opportunities there are for them. And there's so many, and I love what I do, and I'm grateful that I have so many ways to bring money to myself. So I always tell myself that when I'm really like frustrated at my job, because it's when you're an entrepreneur and you work for people, it's like very irritating, because when you work for people, they're telling you stuff to do, and a lot of the things that they do in the hospital doesn't make sense and it's not efficient. And when you know this because you run your own business, it's very aggravating. And sometimes your thresholds for dealing with like nonsense and being abused, you're not going to tolerate it, because you know how much money you bring yourself in your own business. You know what an asset you are, you know about revenue, you understand about expenses. So you know what they're doing in a hospital setting isn't okay. And so that's the only thing that I will say, running my own business, it does make working for other people very difficult, because I've been running my own business since, well, for the longest, but in the nursing counseling arena since 2016. And I just returned back to working for people like in May of this year. So for like a year and a half, I was doing my own thing, and it was so nice, and I'm always in like a great mood. And transitioning to working for other people, because I got that calling that I do want to have time with patients, and I also want to have the empathy for what my clients go through. Because working for myself for some time, it's really, you have to, I like to know what my clients go through. Now I understand why it's so difficult for you to start your business, because you're tired. Even though you might work 3 days a week, and some of you guys might work 8-hour shifts, but even if you work 3 days a week, it's those 12 hours are brutal. depending on what type of hospital you're working at and the conditions. And now I have so much empathy for what you guys go through and why you haven't started your business, or why your business didn't like lift off, because you're like burnt out and your creativity muscle is like so small. That's what I've experienced when I was working, just transitioning and getting to the rhythm of working for other people. Like I would feel so drained and not have enough energy to do what I need to do for my business. So that's another reason why I'm transitioning my role at my current job, because my goal is to, I have a very ambitious goals. I have a 5-year plan, and for me to achieve my goals, how I'm currently working at my current job is not going to do it. Like, you're not going to abuse me and make me do 5 people's jobs for the amount of money you're paying me. No, not when I have my own successful business. And I want that for you. I want you to have something and know that no matter what happens to your job, you're going to be okay. I'm at that place and I've paid my dues, and I want that for you. So I'm finally done with my rant. Again, if you are new to my channel, thank you for joining. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, what I want you to do is click the subscribe button, and also notice the bell icon. When you click the bell icon after subscribing to my channel, it notifies you via email when I'm going live, okay? And I also want you to comment below about what type of specialty you have, and I'll also provide a link to my freebie where I provide you 20 plus business ideas that doesn't cost a lot of money to start. So many opportunities, but not easy. It takes dedication. Yes, Dominican underscore queen, it's a lot of dedication. But the thing about it, there's so many ways to make income as a nurse. It doesn't have to be like this huge like office building. It doesn't have to be, it can just be something that brings you $2,000 a month. And there's so many ways to do that, and I have this free resource that I'm going to provide you in the description. And also, once this video is uploaded, I'll provide in the comments, and you can contact me via email if you want to chat with me about business opportunities for you. I am a counselor for nurses, but one of my passions is really identifying the right business idea for you, meaning like the right business for you might not be the right business for me based on my personality and my long-term goals. So there's so many different businesses that you can start right now without having to invest a lot of money. I mean, less than $2,000, even less than that if you really are resourceful. And my free guide provides you that. So by the end of like today, right now it's 7:43 Cali time. What I will do is provide that in the description and also in the comment section to this live. And I look forward to talking to you soon. I'm going to do my best to show up tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye.